Hello everyone and welcome to the Eternal Card Breakdown. My name is Myriad, and today we're going to be looking at Blade Smash, the new promo card available for free this week from Wednesday to next Wednesday. Pick up 4 copies by playing the campaign, of course, and yep, we're just going to be hopping right into it. This is a 3-cost fast spell that deals 6 damage to an enemy unit. If you have a unit wielding a weapon, you get to invoke Rakano, aka pick 3 cards of your choice and get a new one. And if you have 2 units wielding weapons, Blade Smash costs 2 less. So slightly randomized pool of card bonus on top of a 1-cost fast spell that deals 6 damage in the ideal. Now, whether or not you're going to get that ideal is definitely an interesting question. Building a bunch of units with weapons to actually get the best benefit out of Blade Smash is probably going to be somewhat difficult. There are a few units in Expedition, I think, that generate weapons of their own. Egen Mithril Daimyo. There is the standard, like, Granite Acolyte 2-1 that plays a 2-1 sword. But there aren't too many units that come with their own weapons. Bam. I think Sheriff of Doonhill is the last one that's, like, kind of okay for that particular setup. There are a couple of others that create weapons to play on themselves, Warhelms, that kind of thing, but they all tend to be like a little expensive, a little inefficient, a little bit slow. And so, like, while you can make up for that in the value and speed that Blade Smash gets you, it is notable that it is going to be a little bit difficult to get even one of these to trigger, and getting 2 of them to trigger can be a little bit more tricky. I think the card costing 1 less, or costing 2 less, just costing 1, once you have both weapons down, really leads to a situation where you can, for example, have a unit with a weapon, play a weapon on another unit, and then play Blade Smash to remove a threat, which, yeah, that's a pretty solid tempo-based strategy. It does a lot of good for you, and if you are getting the card back, the card is absolutely worth the cost, either at 3 or at 1. So getting a unit with a weapon on it is really kind of the thing that needs to happen for Blade Smash to be especially effective. But there are some other things that it's doing for you as well. First things first, this is a red fast spell that deals 6 damage, which is not insanely common for red to be able to deal 6 damage to a unit at this cost. Searing Fist at 2 deals 4 damage, and that will deal with a large variety of the threats in Expedition, and in Throne to some extent, at tempo. But dealing 6 damage at 3, a little bit more difficult. Typically, you'd have to be like relying on cards like Vanquish or other things like that to deal with those threats even in like a Throne format, and that of course doesn't allow you to kill stuff like Furious Magnaventress, Feln Adept, anything along those lines. It is notably 1 point short of the 7 damage that you want to kill Black Book, who at the moment I think is the most powerful card in Expedition. I would say that like that's pretty likely the like current like big hitter that you're going to be seeing at the very, very top of the ladder, and also just everywhere else, because the card does so many different things and can really take over the game if it's not removed immediately. Black Book, on the other hand, already discards like basically anything that could kill it, so having more options to kill it is really, really helpful, but it's important to try to address the card early anyways. So having something that's pretty tempo efficient and is still giving you lots of cards to play with, I think does give you better odds against those types of decks. Is this card going to be seeing a lot of Expedition play? I'm not entirely certain. I would say that overall its power level is kind of mediocre, but the additional extra value of having more removal cards that can deal with high health units, which currently just are all over the landscape. Like in red, you're playing Riva and like a bunch of like scary dinosaurs, and you're playing, of course, Krogar, the 5/5 that's got the extra life gain. You've got like a bunch of different options in Praxis and other things like that, where you're just playing very big units that tend to have 6 health or more. In Argentport and Feln, you have access to Feln Adept, you have Cheerganth and a bunch of other things that have like 4 or 5 health, and like there's just a lot of stuff that's just like a little bit on that rough side, so having an additional card on top of Searing Fist to address cards that have more than 3 health is pretty good. I would say that overall that's going to be pretty important for your meta presence in Expedition. This card is a little bit slow for that, but the fact that it's a fast spell, and the fact that it can pair sometimes with certain weapon-based synergies to become a really fast spell, or rather just have a lot of like extra cheap benefits, is pretty nice. I would say this card gets you a card back maybe like half the time, but even then, the card is capable of just killing something that you might have problems with, and that is never anything to really like frown upon in Expedition. In Throne, I think it might be a little bit slow on that front. Dealing 6 damage is still pretty nice in Rakano, and the Invoke is, I think, significantly more likely to happen, since you're likely to be able to play a lot of your own weapons on your own units. Throne is just going to have access to a wider variety of units that can play weapons, so at that point it becomes part of a very specific deck, where you are just playing with like extra different Throne options that all play weapons on themselves, and then you are getting the extra bonus of like very, very fast tempo with Blade Smash. In that case, it's a mildly powerful card, but it's really, really specific, which, you know, generally puts those cards in like C tier, where it's just, it is good in its very particular niche. In Expedition, I think this card is like a solid B. It is something that is capable of seeing play due to the fact that it is good removal, and it is removal that is necessary to deal with a wide variety of the threats that are important. On the other hand, you might end up tossing it out just because like having a big removal card that doesn't kill Black Book, or doesn't really like give you the extra benefit of an extra card, might not be as tempo efficient as just playing a lot of units, going into sites, and like thus avoiding like certain aspects of Black Book or other types of general problems. I think as a way to address like most of the problematic cards in the format, it's pretty nice, but also you have stuff like Plunk Wumpkin, which already has an Aegis and can't really get this particular effect played on it. You have Bless the Wild, which is giving you like the counterspell option to basically just turn off the tempo and makes any type of 3-cost fast spell a little bit less appealing. This is the Rakano version of Slay, so if you're in Rakano and you're trying to be aggressive, then like having this like little extra bit to get you into the mid-range can be pretty reasonable, and Rakano does have some cool mid-range options that I don't think have really seen play. So this could potentially provide access to, for example, the 6-drop 5/5 that allows you to discard a bunch of spells and draw 3 new cards, which is just like pretty powerful in a general Rakano setup, and being able to bridge that gap between like very aggressive Rakano with the 2/2 charges that give +2/+2, the Battlefront Dashers, all of the different like sort of like green different extras. This is a card that can kind of like make it a little easier to live while playing into those 5 or 6 drops and trying for more Rakano mid-range based strategies. So since that seems like an underrepresented deck at the moment, it's fairly likely that this could see a little bit of play in that respect. And I think it's kind of exciting for that reason. Invoke is a really powerful effect. I've said this many times before, but Invoke is just like strictly more powerful in most cases than drawing a card. While it is going to get you a card that isn't part of your general deck plan, it is something that will also be usually reactive to your opponent's basic strategy. So you'll get to pick something that can be really helpful to you. Sometimes all of the options will be bad, and that's, you know, that's just sort of life with Invoke. But I think that like pretty frequently you can pick up something that can completely turn the game around that you wouldn't otherwise be running in your deck. And Invoke is a fun mechanic. Like if you are playing with Invoke cards, you tend to feel a lot happier about your deck in general, because A, not only are you generating consistent value, but B, you're getting to play with a lot of cards that you might not otherwise play with, and like wouldn't necessarily want to slot into your deck for different reasons. Weaknesses against certain types of decks, or just not being strong enough against particular aspects of the game. And like when those cards come out of good invokes, it's just a really good feel-good feeling, which tends to make the design of these cards significantly better. Now, so all of that, like, plus the dream scenario of just like, oh, I play a weapon on my second unit, I now have a 1-drop card to remove the threat, and then I can just go in and go completely ham for this turn. I think that this is like a pretty reasonable removal card, but overall I would rank it somewhere in the middle of the pack. I don't think it's exceptional. I think it is something that can play a role, but has some weaknesses in the current meta. If Black Book's health ever comes down, this becomes significantly more threatening. If other cards in the format, like really just like if you see a lot of stuff that's like hovering in the 5 to 6 range, this is significantly better. But while there already is a prevalence of those types of units and Rakano needs ways to deal with them, this isn't a card that's necessarily getting Rakano completely ahead of the game, and the conditionality of its extra card value means that it frequently might just be a pretty slow tempo card. So I'm not hugely in favor of it. I think it's a cool design. I think that there's not enough units with weapons to really support this type of setup, but when you actually get the units with weapons and when you're playing this type of deck, the card is a role player and does the thing that you're most wanting it to do. It's exciting to meet the Skycrag 6. Play the campaign if you haven't already. You'll get the names of each of the characters. They're featured in a number of different card art all over the place. There's a lot of like really cool, different sort of little stories that are being told. A very cute one involves, I think it starts with like Egg Snatch or something like that, and is just like includes Krogar and the new Yeti, who I think his name is Num Num, stealing a dragon egg, and that's told across the different card arts, and it's very, very cute. So yeah, you'll see all of these different heroes showing up from time to time. Most of them do not have cards yet. We only have Krogar and I believe Phineas. So and of course Caleb. So still 3 more to be released, and it's only 2 more in the month. So whether we'll see a lot of these heroes or just 1 or 2 is an interesting question. But I imagine that they'll all show up as promo cards or cards in later sets as time goes on. So pretty cool stuff. All right, that's our general review. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We will be back with more Eternal Brews and other shenanigans very, very soon. Trying to get onto daily video schedules, but it's all just a matter of how much time we have available. I will definitely be trying to push for quite a few videos this month, since I'm really enjoying Eternal Unleashed, and we're having just a ton of fun. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!